grade 12, welcome back to Unit 2 North Star. Is honesty the best policy? We're going to talk about listening to today. If you can go with me to page 42. Okay, there we are, listening to family secrets. First up, we're going to look at the vocabulary. Read the sentences. You will hear the bold-faced words and phrases in the next listening selection. Notice them as you listen. So we have put the pieces together, reincarnated, uncanny, elating, and mull over. Let's read it together. We started to put the pieces together. It was as though I were seeing my father reincarnated standing there. It's really uncanny. The feeling of trespassing was actually very elating. I used to kind of mull over these things alone. Yes, those are the words and phrase that we are looking at as vocabulary in context. Now I'd like you to match the words or phrases on the left, here 1 until 5, to the definitions or synonyms on the right. I would like you to do that right now. So first we looked at the word and phrases within the context, and now we're looking at what the definition / synonym is for the word. You can pause your video and do that. Awesome, there we are. Comprehension. Concealing the truth is a kind of lying. In this excerpt, you will hear a filmmaker, Paula Rappaport, discuss a time when she uncovered a family secret. She made a documentary film about this important part of her life. Now, before you do that, as usual, what do I ask you to do? Exactly. Annotate. Go circle, underline the keywords in the sentence question and also the answer choices. Go ahead. While you're listening, you can answer the questions.
Part 1.
Many years after my father died, I had found a small photograph of a young boy that resembled him enormously in my father's desk, which had remained undisturbed for all those years. The picture was signed Pierre on the back, and I really didn't know what to do with it, even though it looked so much like my father, and he had certainly never mentioned having a child before. I knew he didn't have any other relatives other than us. That was over 10 years ago. When years later my mother got a letter from Romania signed with the name Pierre, which was the same name on the back of the picture, we started to put the pieces together, and I thought perhaps this is someone who's looking to find his lost family. And in fact, after a short exchange of letters between me and this stranger, Pierre, in Bucharest, he finally acknowledged that his father was my father.
So the photograph that you found in the drawer was, in fact, your long-lost half-brother.
That's who it was. The suspicion was right, that he was our long-lost brother or half-brother, living in Bucharest all that time. And then I had never been to Romania, but I had an opportunity to go. Actually, my husband was shooting a documentary there. So I kind of piggybacked and went along, and I met Pierre for the first time. And it was an absolutely extraordinary experience to see him waiting for me at the airport with a little bouquet of flowers, and it was as though I were seeing my father reincarnated standing there, because he resembles him almost identically.
He looks a lot like the photographs of your father in the film.
Yeah, it's really uncanny.
Your father had never told you or your sister anything about a son that he had had in Europe?
No, he was really incredibly successful at keeping this secret from us.
Part 2.
My father was very secretive about the period in his life when he lived in Romania. In fact, he was secretive about the period of his life when he lived in France prior to meeting my mother.
Daddy was a secretive person, and people who had to run from, Gestapo persecution, I think, became secretive as a matter of survival.
Part 3.
So, how did you as a filmmaker and as a person go into uncovering these secrets when you have a family legacy and teaching of maybe this is not such a good thing to explore secrets? Was it scary for you? Was it elating for you? Did you have a feeling that you were trespassing on forbidden ground?
Oh, all of those things, actually. But the feeling of trespassing was actually very elating. It was very exciting to get into this territory. I think I used to kind of mull over these things alone and come up with all kinds of images of what things could be and ideas of what things could be. And so actually to open it up and have a real situation where I could uncover these things that were forbidden to me was actually very exciting.
Do you think that there's any relationship between the family secrets and the experience of being lied to?
You know, you can't blame people for lying. I think sometimes they're trying to go for a higher value, like not hurting someone else. But I must say, I think the truth is always best, because eventually it's going to come out. Particularly, people are smart, and children are really smart, and they know something isn't right when something isn't right. I think they know when something's being kept from them, on some level, often nonverbal with children. And so eventually, sometimes the truth doesn't come out, but there's always going to be a hole in your experience, like an emptiness or something that's not right and out of order, if this kind of secret is kept in families.
Okay, cool. I give you some time to go over your answers. Pause your video. Listening skill, identifying speaker attitudes. Oh, how would I know what the attitude is from listening to what someone is saying? Can I know? Yeah, you can. Unlike the first listening, which is more academic and factual, family secrets is a very personal interview. The goal of the interviewer is to pose questions that prompt the interviewee, Paula Rappaport, to reveal her attitudes towards the events in the story she narrates. Though her skillful interviewing, the interviewer uncovers Paula's real feelings and the interactions between these interlocutors. There is an unusual level of trust. Paula has agreed to reveal information and feelings that few people ever talk about publicly. So basically, there is a difference between the first and the second listening. Okay, the first one was more factual, whereas in this one, what you heard just now, the interview was far more personal and open. Okay, so let's read and listen to this example, then answer the question and read the explanation.
Example.
So the photograph that you found in the drawer was, in fact, your long-lost half-brother.
That's who it was. The suspicion was right, that he was our long-lost brother or half-brother, living in Bucharest all that time.
Okay, that's very personal to talk about things like that. All right. So that the photograph that you found in the drawer was in fact your long-lost half-brother. Now, the interviewer directly states the mystery behind the photo in order to elicit Paula's reaction. The reason why she says that straight away that way, like so confronting, is because she wants to get a reaction. And Paula's reaction will show something of herself. Now, how does Paula feel about the interviewer's statement? Either relieved, embarrassed, validated, or supported? Now, the answer is C. Go through your thinking process step by step. What are the linguistic clues that lead you to the answer? Now, the interviewer uses the word so and in fact to acknowledge Paula's story. By making the connection, the interviewer validated the event, and validating means showing that it is real. And yeah, so by the choice of words and how someone speaks, we can definitely see what the attitude is of a person. So basically, from the language that they use, we can see the speaker's attitude, and also from the way how they say it, it shows the attitude of the person. So the words, the language itself, and the way how it is spoken. Okay, so what we're going to do is now you're going to listen to short exchanges between the interviewer and Paula and identify Paula's attitude or feeling that have been prompted by the interviewer's questions. So the interviewer is trying to prompt questions. That's why for interviewers it's very important to have good questions, because being able to determine and distinguish the attitude also brings more meaning to what the person is saying, right? So then imagine that you are Paula and think about how you would have felt if you had been asked that particular question. Okay. So, for example, number 1, the interviewer directly states that Pierre bears a close resemblance to Paula's father. How does Paula feel at this moment?
Excerpt 1.
He looks a lot like the photographs of your father in the film.
Yeah, it's really uncanny.
How do you think she feels? So you can imagine that you're Paula and think about how you would have felt if you would have been asked that question. What do you think? How does she feel? Number 2, the interviewer asks a series of short, direct questions to get Paula to share her feelings about uncovering the secret. Now, at this moment, how does Paula feel about the discovery?
Excerpt 2.
Was it scary for you? Was it elating for you? Did you have a feeling that you were trespassing on forbidden ground?
Oh, all of those things, actually. But the feeling of trespassing was actually very elating. It was very exciting to get into this territory.
Okay. Number 3, the interviewer suggests that Paula's father may have lied to her by not telling her about Pierre at this moment. How does Paula feel towards her father for keeping this family secret?
Excerpt 3.
Do you think that there's any relationship between the family secrets and the experience of being lied to?
You know, you can't blame people for lying.
Okay, what do you think? Okay, answer number 1, 2, and 3. Great, that brings us to the last part of this video, which is the last part of listening to, connecting the listening. So in the first step to organize, we will look at information from both audios, from both listening sections. So the audio from listening 1 and the audio of listening 2. We're trying to gather the information of both, and then we're mostly just putting them in a graphic organizer. In this case, we have a table. Sometimes it's a Venn diagram. And there's different ways, but it's basically getting the information. What we would do for a speaking test or writing, we would also gather information by brainstorming and researching. Now what we do is we gather the information simply from the audios that we've already listened to. And then when we go to step 2, which is synthesizing, remembering that synthesizing is the use of multiple sources, combining it all together in order to create something new. So basically what we do in step 1, organizing, getting the information. In step 2, we do something with that information in order to create something new. And that could be a writing, that could be, I don't know, a role play, a dialogue, anything we can make out of it. So basically that is working with the information that we've gotten. Now, here in step 1, organizing, in the interview, Paula Rappaport shares several family secrets as she tells a story. Now, fill in the chart with the concealments and lies. Then write which of Ackman's 9 reasons for lying in the chart on page 39 and 40 might apply in each case. You may find more than one reason. So here we're looking at the concealments and lies from Paula's story. So which one do you think she conceals, she covers up? And what would be the lies? Here we can see one that is written down. Pierre didn't tell his father's family who or where he was. That was something that was lied about, that was hidden. And then here we would write down the possible reasons for the concealment or the lie. Why would that have happened? Why would they have covered that up? So I'd like you to come up with several things that were hidden or lies here, and then at the right column, write down the possible reason. Now for that, you can look at Ekman's 9 reasons for lying. Remember that in the chart on page 39 and 40. You can look at the 9 reasons and then pick one of the 9 reasons to see which one fits to which one on the left. Okay, you can pause your video and do that right now. Okay, great. That brings us to the last part, which is the synthesizing. Basically, you're supposed right now to use the vocabulary from the interview and from the chart on page 45 to role play a conversation between Paula and Dr. Ekman. But that is such a pity. We cannot do that right now. But basically, what I really would need you to remember is that whenever you synthesize, you basically create a new work. But the work that you create is based on sources, contexts, and things that you got from different sources. Okay, so it is never just something out of the blue. It is research. It gets from different parts, different sources, and then all combined together to create something different. And definitely we would then also use paraphrasing, because you cannot copy paste, right? So you would have to use synonyms and a different grammatical structure in order to create that. And in this case, it was supposed to be a role play. Okay. I would like to end our session for today by showing real quick what it is that we've been doing. Okay, we started off with the vocabulary, and we looked at the vocabulary in context of a sentence, and then you had to find a synonym, which is a different word but with a similar meaning, same or nearly similar, nearly the same. And you had to connect that. And then we did a comprehension, listening comprehension. You had to listen to the interview and find the correct answer to complete the sentences. Then we talked about identifying a speaker's attitude, and we can find the attitude or identify the attitude of a speaker from the language that they use, the words, the sentences that they create, the questions that they ask, or how they respond. But we can also know or recognize the attitude of a speaker by the way a speaker says something, from the intonation to the emphasis, what they do with their voice. Great. And then last we did connecting the listenings, organizing the information, taking information from both audio sections from listening 1 and 2, coming up with that information, which then was supposedly be used in a conversation that would have been a role played. Okay, everybody, remember that synthesizing is the usage of multiple sources in order to create something new. Good. Okay, that brings us to the end of our video. I will see you soon, very soon, in another video. Thank you for working hard and trying so hard. Remember that in our next Zoom meeting, we will go over the result of your activities. And it's all a process of learning. Stay excited. God bless you. Till we see each other again. Bye-bye.